it's really hard to talk about horror films without at least mentioning Stephen King's name, because this is a figure that's been in the horror community for countless decades, and his name alone is haunting. Like, he's penned some books such as The Shining, It, The Stand, tons of short stories. He did just his body of work speaks for itself. Like, when you say Stephen King, you may not have ever even read a Stephen King novel, but you'll know something about Stephen King, i.e., his one of his newest sort of things that brought him in a lot of newer fans, which would have been the new movies It and It Part 2, which a lot of kids liked. A lot of kids that probably got them picking up books, which is a good thing, you know what I mean? Getting books in a kid's hand is never a bad thing, in my opinion, and I think that's great. But Stephen King, people always say, like, oh, I love that Stephen King movie, like the Stephen King movie, and it's like, yeah, well, to be kind of specific, like, when you say a Stephen King movie, you mean a Stephen King inspired, or Stephen King story inspired film, because Stephen King has never made a film until 1986, when he directed Maximum Overdrive, starring Emilio Estevez, and the chick that was the voice from the chick that's the voice of Lisa Simpson from The Simpsons is in here. There's just like a bunch of like people, like character actors that you kind of recognize throughout film. It's basically a science fiction film that's all about this meteor that goes past the planet, and it causes all the electronic appliances in houses and outside, and everything to go haywire and basically try to kill humans. And it's crazy because everything from a pop machine, lawnmower, one of those things that like throws baseballs so you can like batting cage type shit, all that stuff is going nuts. Electric knives are going nuts. Like, it's crazy. And the thing about this movie, the opener of this film, is the thing that I always loved, and the thing that stuck in my head, much like with Jaws, where kids were probably like, oh fuck, I don't want to go in the water because of, there could be a shark. Well, I never wanted to go on those fucking bridges that went like that, like in the beginning of Maximum Overdrive, because I always thought that was going to happen. And it's cool to point out that I don't know if it's all of the music, but the majority of the music in this film is put out by the band AC/DC. So if you're a rock fan, I mean, my dad loves AC/DC, and my dad is also a big fan of this film. So, but the story of this is Emilio Estevez works at this shitty little diner, and it's at like a truck stop kind of diner, and that's where all this stuff kind of starts happening. And the people that are there at the time barricade themselves in this diner, and they're being tormented by these trucks, by these huge fucking transport trucks. The main truck having the face of the Green Goblin on it from the Spider-Man series, and it's really cool. And it's a messed up movie because there's a scene where this guy gets sprayed in the face with gas, and just like really messed up stuff that I still think about. When I'm pumping gas in my car, sometimes I'll still think about that. I'll be like, man, remember that guy in Maximum Overdrive? Like this is just me thinking in my own head, but fuck, man, it's to me it's a cool movie, man, because it's about these survivors trying to just make it through the wake of this comet that went through, and eventually it does clear up, but these people get put through the ringer, and there's a lot of crazy stuff that happens. They sort of at one point work out a bit of an understanding with these trucks to a certain degree under the the supervision of an armed turret gun that's on like an army vehicle that has a turret on it that's fully active by this supernatural phenomena. It's great, man. I really like this movie. I think people need to give it a chance, because when people are like, Maximum Overdrive, that movie's terrible. It's like, motherfucker, did you even watch it? I'm sensing more and more with YouTube and stuff that there's a lot of fucking talk and not a lot of watching, and that fucking annoys the piss out of me. So get watching your shit. I believe that either Scream Factory or Vestron or one of those companies recently put this out, so you can get a good copy of it. Probably jam-packed with good special features. Because of all those companies I just mentioned, like, they never slack on the features. So for the longest time it was not this copy. Like, I just got this within the last couple of years. All of my experience with Maximum Overdrive came from a tape. I'm just trying to see if it's up there, because I know I see it right there. Okay, so one of the Old Man's Burns that he did years ago, right? It's just it's great. I wouldn't get rid of those movies for the world, but this is a movie that needs to be looked at a little closer by people, and not just judged so quickly because maybe Stephen King says he doesn't like it. Because of course, famously, Stephen King said that he was not a fan of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. So I don't know if I already mentioned that in this video because I've tried making this video a bunch of times and I just keep fucking up everything. But yeah, man, what can I say? Other than that, Maximum Overdrive is a film you need to watch. Like I said, Emilio Estevez going badass, kind of rogue. Like, he's kind of like one of those dudes that just kind of shuts his fucking mouth and sits back and sees what's going on, and then, takes control more or less. It's great. There's a really good scene in this, like, arcade where this guy, he's like, money shooting out of these arcade machines, smokes are shooting out of the smoke machines. He's loading up his pockets, and something happens to him. And I believe that guy was actually in Do the Right Thing. He's like, and he was also in, I believe, King of New York. Great actor that he's been in a lot of stuff, but he gets fucked up. Yeah, man. So Maximum Overdrive. Do not sleep on this film. Thanks for watching, and check out the Facebook page for sure. And yeah, adios.